There has been a lot of buzz in the Toyota world lately, and in particular about the Tacoma. You see, this has been America's #1 mid-size selling truck for like the past 17 years, and it just underwent a major redesign for the model year 2024. And like it or not, there are many new things about the 2024 Tacoma, including the available hybrid engine option, new colors, an updated body style and interior, just way too many things to call out right here. But it wasn't just the truck that got revamped. So did its price. Like, the Tacoma TRD Pro's base MSRP is now $63,900, which is a lot. So let's talk about it. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chloe and I have owned a Tacoma since 2019. That was my very first Tacoma I bought 5 years ago, and I have made lots and lots of videos about it here on my channel. And most of my viewers would know I love that truck. I am going to take it to the grave with me, seriously. So naturally, I had really high hopes for when the new generation Tacoma was announced for 2024. And after a lot of thought, I ended up buying one. And it's actually the one behind me right now. But things are already starting out a little bit different with this truck than they did with my last one. Sure, there's a lot of new things I can point out with it. Like, one big difference is how differently it drives with the I-Force engine, or basically that's Toyota's fancy name for the turbocharged 4-cylinder, whereas my old Tacoma has a naturally aspirated V6. This truck's got an 8-speed automatic transmission. My 2019 has a 6-speed. This one's kind of random, but this truck has like this massive 1-piece drive shaft, whereas my other Tacoma has a 2-piece. And you know what? You guys already know because you had a lot to say about the differences when I was browsing the comment section on the first video I posted about this truck on this channel. But that's not why you clicked on this video. Because beyond all these things, the biggest difference from this truck to my last one, to me, is how much I paid for it. This is the #1 question I've gotten about my new truck, and it makes sense. People are curious about the price and performance of a new model before deciding if they're going to make a move or not make a move.
Damn right. Yeah. Damn straight.
So in this video, I am not only going to break down my cost for you down to the penny, but also my goal here is really just to share a first-hand account of what it was like purchasing a brand new 2024 Tacoma. I've got a lot of personal thoughts about how this whole thing went down for me because sure, we are in the first year of a new generation, but not only that, it is a very interesting time buying a new vehicle. The whole new vehicle market is in a really weird spot with high interest rates, price increases, delays, a questionable economy, and unfortunately, more often than not, greedy dealerships, all of which I got a taste of through this recent Tacoma purchase. And to give you a more comprehensive view aside from one gal's personal experience, I had the pleasure of chatting with Marcus Umlauff, General Manager of Truck Strategy from Toyota Motor North America. Throughout this video, I'll be sharing his insights on various topics, including pricing, Toyota's dealership model, and how the new Tacoma stacks up to the competition. We got a lot going on here, so let's dive into it. Right off the bat, what did I pay for my new Tacoma? So let's break it down. In my video that I posted where I purchased this truck, I mentioned to you guys that the MSRP, which by the way is the price that Toyota sets, that's on this 4x4 TRD off-road, short bed, automatic transmission, gas model, not the hybrid, was $53,234. Now I want to clarify that in reality, this number can further be broken down because this truck's base MSRP was $42,900, but because of all the packages and options I wanted, which included like the soft tech seats and stabilizer disconnect mechanism, those are what brought the truck up to that 53 number. But that is not the end of it because at the dealership, you need to account for all the extra fees like the processing and delivery fee, the dock fee, the licensing fee, and also sales tax, which honestly was the bulk of all these extra fees. That all brought the out the door number to a whopping $59,704.34. Essentially $60K for this truck, which isn't even a TRD Pro or a Trail Hunter or a hybrid.
That's crazy.
Anyways, I believe you should always try to negotiate, which is what I did, and I was able to get $1,000 knocked off that price at my dealership, Toyota Carlsbad. So the final out the door price that we agreed on was $58,704.34. Wowza. Now, before I continue on, I do want to be clear that none of what I'm about to say is financial advice. I'm just here to share my numbers, my decision, the reason behind those decisions, and how I think things just in general turned out for me. So first off, I opted against financing my new Tacoma, and really this decision was influenced by my own personal circumstances. I have been saving up to buy an off-road vehicle that I wanted to build up for a couple of years, and this all kind of started before the 2024 Tacoma even hit the scene. I could tell you guys that full story another time, but basically I had been putting money aside for another build, this truck, the past couple of years. Even so, I am fully aware that purchasing a Tacoma outright is a lot. But I do want to stress that not everyone's situation looks the same. I know it looks like I do YouTube full time, but most of my actual time is spent working my corporate job. I'm a software engineer, so that comes with a pretty steady income. I also do not have kids. Well, except for Cody, but he doesn't count. But basically, I don't have any childcare costs, which I am very aware is expensive in this country. And I'm sharing this because some people were wondering how this was all possible, and I hope this provides a little bit of context or some sort of reason or explanation to a curious mind. You know, the one thing you learn growing up from being a kid is really not to judge someone's situation based on the car they drive. There are people in massive amounts of debt driving the nicest cars. Then you've got the flip side where there's literal billionaires driving just everyday, common, affordable vehicles. And there's just everyone in between. Basically, everyone's life is different, of course. Anyways, paying cash. Was it a good move? I do know that there are a lot of people who, in my shoes, would have still financed the truck, but I will just tell you, not having a car payment is a very, very good feeling. Of course, there's still associated costs like gas, and you've got to get insurance, right? Which, by the way, that is also a whole other interesting topic I want to talk about at some point. I have AAA and I only pay liability on my Gen 3 Tacoma, and I think that comes out to $2,000 a year just for that car. So for this Gen 4, I was like, man, if I get full coverage, it is going to be so expensive. But surprisingly, full coverage with a high deductible, I will say, made the Gen 4 insurance on AAA about only $900 a year for full coverage. Maybe it's because it's got a lot more built-in safety features. Maybe it's just because I've added yet another vehicle under my auto insurance policy and it lowered for some reason, but regardless, I'll take it. Anyways, going back to the financing, if you are curious what my monthly installments would have looked like if I did go the financing route, here's a similarly priced Tacoma on the SmartPath Toyota website. This is actually a pretty good site that Toyota has started to put together because it's got a calculator that allows you to move various styles and estimate payments. So if we were hypothetically going to say we put $10,000 down, which is what I think I did on my Gen 3 Tacoma, then you can click finance, lease, or cash and see kind of the breakdown of everything. But under the finance tab, of course, the periods are different, but if you do a 5-year, which is what I did for my Gen 3 with this 7.75% APR, you can see that the monthly installments come to $986 a month. So again, this is actually pretty cool, good for estimating in a bunch of different situations, depending on where you're at. But yeah, monthlies all depend on how much you put down and of course, what interest rate you get. So $58,704.34. Even with a $1,000 discount. There are some of you guys who are going to think that's a good deal. I've had some people tell me that aren't the dealership, because the dealership's always going to tell you it's a good deal. But I know there's others out there who will vehemently disagree and in fact are probably shaking their heads right now.
Is this just a genetic thing with you? Is it congenital? Did your mother drop you on your head?
You know, I have seen videos of people walking around various Toyota dealership lots and just looking around at Tacomas and showing that there are pretty fat discounts to the tune of $5,000. And honestly, that is what I was hoping to get. That is what I was looking for. But clearly, I personally didn't have that kind of success. If it's true though that you find that sort of deal, that's actually pretty good, especially given the current market. However, I think my experience of not finding those things has to do with really two things. One, my region, which is Southern California. And two, me seeking out a pretty highly sought after trim with very specific packages and options. The reality in the couple of months I was searching for a Tacoma, which mind you was very early on when there wasn't a huge stock of them at the very beginning of the year, was that most dealerships were actually selling above MSRP here in Southern California. And I thought, is this just me, but I had a lot of other friends who also bought TRD off-roads or TRD sports or SR5s that ended up paying at MSRP or just below MSRP. Of the couple friends I talked to that actually went through and purchased a 2024 Tacoma, this kind of seemed to be the sentiment. Also, reading through the Tacoma 4G forums, most people that actually go through and purchase a Tacoma are reporting, I think, pretty similar things. I'm not saying that there aren't better deals out there, but if you can find one, I hope you guys get a better bargain than me. But just in SoCal, it really seems like these trucks are kind of flying off the lots. For instance, when I was at Carlsbad buying my own Tacoma, there were actually 2 other people that were there at the exact same time, actually going through and purchasing a Tacoma as well. And then when I was leaving the dealership too, another guy was coming in and we were talking, and he was saying he was there to go pick up his Tacoma that he had put a deposit down and ordered a couple months back. I don't know how representative that is of the market though, because that's just like one data point. And to be fair, the Carlsbad lot did have Tacomas actually on the ground. It wasn't like there weren't any there, but who knows, a shipment could have just come in. Maybe they actually aren't selling. It's kind of hard to say, you know? But to give you one more example, I actually had an allocation for a TRD off-road with very specific packages and options, basically the same ones that this truck had, but my dealer ended up finding this truck a week before my allocation arrived. So when I bought this truck, he released that reservation, or you know, whatever my name was next to that. And because I had the VIN of the allocated truck and I was following it around, I saw that someone just snapped it up real quick right when it was released. And if we take a look at some of the sales volume figures, and looking at numbers is great because it typically provides the most unbiased opinion, you can see that at the beginning of 2024, sales for the new Tacoma are significantly lower in terms of units sold. So you could make the inference that this is because of low demand, but I would guess that this is due to the generation turnover and slow production. Like, maybe the base model SRs weren't on the lots yet, which I'm sure account for a beefy percentage since many are used as fleet vehicles. Although I couldn't tell you with certainty because we would also have to know how many units were produced and delivered, which I do not know. But jumping forward to Q2 and now, and especially last month, the same month I bought my own Tacoma, we are seeing a bigger upswing. Not quite to the levels of 2023, but still up there. So it seems like Tacomas aren't flat out not selling, but indeed steadily increasing. Perhaps other regions out there have different dynamics, but I will say it really just feels like SoCal is pretty competitive. However, I want to say that regardless of my experience and really any other narrative that you hear online from someone else shouldn't have you discouraged if you're looking for one of these trucks. My personal opinion is this does not mean you should settle for MSRP. Definitely negotiate, look around, search for a dealership that's going to actually be willing to work with you. And I'm really thankful that Toyota Carlsbad did that with me. They were reasonable and offered a discount, but it's clear that there are dealerships still out there that are willing to capitalize on this Tacoma craze, and they're just gonna sell you at markups like no problem to maximize their profits. And honestly, because of dealerships like those, I find it really frustrating. Like, wouldn't it be so nice if there wasn't like this whole middleman dealership to begin with? Why can't us as consumers purchase a truck directly from Toyota? You know, we put down our trim, our color, our packages, everything that we want into an order. It goes into a queue. We have the price all laid out, everything just transparent. We get a build date. You get notified when it gets shipped, kind of like how Tesla does it. I think there's a number of people besides myself who wonder why Toyota doesn't do this direct to consumer kind of model and stick to their dealerships. So I asked Marcus about this, and this is what he said.
First and foremost, Toyota is absolutely committed to its dealer model. So it's one of the massive strengths that Toyota has. We know that the customer experience can vary. Our dealers are independent franchises, so we cannot dictate pricing. What we can do is try and make sure that we encourage our dealers to have the best customer experience. In terms of the whole direct-to-consumer thing, we are absolutely committed to the dealer model. The really interesting thing is, as we do a lot of research and explore this, consumers still want to have a connection with the dealer. And because especially a vehicle, you still need to service it. I mean, it is something which is an ongoing connection. It's something that we still see as a massive asset. It's something that we continue to encourage. How do we make sure that from a customer point of view, it's about that customer relationship? Because that's what it all boils down to in the end, is that strong customer experience and relationship.
Yeah. Do you think that most Toyota consumers or Toyota purchasers do have a positive experience at their dealership?
I think a lot of them do. And I think, a huge amount of our dealer network, all of our dealers are very committed to their franchise.
So I think it's actually a valid point to say that there is a relationship beyond the point of purchase between a dealership and a customer. I know that's not the case for everyone, but I will say for myself, Toyota Carlsbad isn't the closest Toyota dealership to where I live, but I do appreciate their sales department, their service techs. Basically, I will go out of my way to go to Toyota Carlsbad for service and probably for purchasing my next vehicle, if it happens to be a Toyota. I just also personally like that. I think that they're family owned. Most of the staff has been there since forever. So I do think that Marcus has a valid point here. But when I was asking about the pricing and the markups, it kind of sounds like Toyota says, well, the pricing is kind of out of our hands, which I'm sure it's a very complicated problem, but I believe they could address this pain point problem to many consumers by just adjust allocations to dealerships that engage in price gouging. Regardless though, since Toyota is doubling down really hard on their dealership model, my 2 cents would be that if you are looking for a new Toyota vehicle, or even in some cases used, avoid dealership markups like the plague. As customers, we can support dealerships that offer fair prices and simply walk away from ones that don't.
You're goddamn right.
Okay, but despite all this, even if you manage to skirt around the dealership markups and maybe even get some money knocked off of MSRP, it still doesn't really take away from the fact that the price that Toyota has set for these trucks is now pretty substantial. And that's evidenced by my own purchase, but also I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a prime example of this would be the TRD Pro, the halo grade of the Tacomas. Since the inception of this trim in 2015, I believe it has always been the highest priced Tacoma model offered in the lineup, but for 2024, it has reached new heights with a starting price of $63,900. And to give you guys some context, the starting price for the automatic TRD Pro Tacoma in 2023, the previous generation, was $50,740. That's a difference. And then on top of that all, can you guys just imagine? You're starting out at $62,900, but then you've got all of those extra fees that I was talking about earlier. Like, some people are sticker shocked at this, and I don't blame them. But I'm just gonna say that the 2024 TRD Pro, in my opinion, is a substantially upgraded truck from its predecessors. I have firsthand account of this because I took one out to Utah earlier this year for a week-long off-road trip where I put over 1,000 miles on one. I did Moab in it. There was just miles and miles of driving on the dirt. Nothing super hairy, but definitely just pretty rutted out trails. And I've got to say, it's an incredible truck with so much more power than the previous one. And as much as some people might think the isodynamic seats and the quick switch 3 fog shocks and the bigger screen are all just excessive and over the top, I can very easily see how this level of performance and this truck in particular will appeal to certain people. And in my head, that's to 2 groups in particular. One, those with deep pockets and are just gonna want the best Tacoma that money can buy. You know, there's always people like that out there. And 2, enthusiasts who want a factory-built truck that is seriously capable off-road without any sort of heavy aftermarket modifications. And look, I am not here to defend the Pro pricing because I put my money where my mouth is, and as awesome as it is, I did not buy one. Me personally, this was mostly because I had a number in mind, $55,000 before taxes. That was the max I wanted to pay for a new truck, and given the MSRP of a TRD Pro or even a Trail Hunter or even the hybrid variant of this truck for that matter, there's really no way I was going to negotiate my way down to that, especially with the TRD Pro and the Trail Hunter where there's only going to be a certain number of units made available. But I still believe the Pro is priced as high as it is because there are people not just willing, but happy to pay that price and fork out the money to get that truck. And more power to them because that really is a turnkey, awesome truck. There's a very valid argument though that that kind of money can buy you other top tier mid-sized trucks on the market. One that comes in mind in the segment that's very comparable to the TRD Pro is the Ford Ranger Raptor that offers more power. It's got a V6, it's got Fox live valve shocks where the TRD Pro does have the quick switch 3s, but those are manual. And the Ranger Raptor is all at a much lower price of $55,620. So when I brought that up to Marcus, here's what he said.
There is trucks being sold at really high transaction price.
Right.
The thing that we really want to offer is a great truck for that. And so I think the reality is this isn't a huge part of our volume, but I mean, there's people that want to pay good money for a great truck. So one of our big focuses here on our Halo trucks, whether it's Trail Hunter or TRD Pro, is give the customer a lot of content. I mean, just make it a really awesome truck. And we know it's not for everyone. And we know that at that price point, we're putting a huge amount of content in, but honestly, the new trucks, I mean, are just a wicked truck. I mean, they're just a great truck to drive. The cool thing is we've got trucks all through the price point. So we're probably covering the whole price range now. Previously, we probably weren't really offering trucks up in that price point that people were spending at. So we will look very closely at what trucks transact at, not just what trucks have an MSRP for. And we're very conscious there's trucks selling for a whole lot. We'd much rather we give people content. The thing we really try and separate is what is individual spec versus what's the total package, how it comes together. How do all of those parts come together and work together, whether it's the powertrain, the platform. And really one of the big changes for us is the all-new platform, the powertrain, the way it comes together. So on paper, some things can look different. When you drive it and bring it together, it's really that overall drive experience, which really sort of proves the point. And look, we're really proud of, how the Trail Hunter, TRD Pro, they're just super cool trucks to drive. And one of the big things that we really lean into here is our iForce Max, just having a huge amount of torque everywhere. And especially in the space of truck, drivability, great torque everywhere. It really makes for a strong drive experience. So I'd sort of argue, we've got great content out there, all our competitors do as well. Who brings it together is the right package, I think, is really how it comes together, the total drive experience. That's really what we focus on.
I think on this one, I tend to agree with him. A truck is more than just its specs. It's really about what value it brings to a specific customer. And as I mentioned, you are going to find that segment of people that are willing to spend more for a Toyota truck. So while there's folks that would vomit at the idea of paying more for fewer cylinders, which I have seen those comments before, there are buyers out there that value more than just engine size alone. This would be the perfect time to insert that sometimes size doesn't always matter. But I still will say that I think Toyota's pricing strategy is a little bit interesting, because what has kind of happened right now is that when somebody thinks of the new Tacoma, regardless if it's a TRD Pro or not, they're going to have that $64,000 number just stuck in their head. And that unfortunately overshadows the rest of the fleet, which is probably, like, I'm just making this up, 95% of the sales volume. Many people aren't used to thinking of Tacoma and high prices in the same sentence, but it really seems like Toyota's trying to say, hey, you do get a lot more truck for the dollar you pay. I can even say that this is kind of what's happened for the truck I bought that's behind me right now. $54,000 for a TRD off-road. That is significantly higher than 2023 Gen 3 pricing, but it's kind of deceiving because the MSRP on the base of this truck is actually closer to $43,000. That is, of course, without all the new offerings like the sway bar disconnect. Same sort of thing with the SR5s, which you can now get with the linked rear suspension that rides a lot better than the leaf springs, I must say. And now with options like heated seats, which is why, despite starting in the $30,000 range, most of the SR5s that you're looking up have these options included and are in the 40s. It's like this ladder pricing. Sure, Toyota has their lower price and more base model options, but they're probably pushing more trucks with all these packages tacked on because that's what people like me are actually buying. Again, this is no defense for Toyota. I paid into their ladder pricing with my own truck over here, but just recognizing that they intentionally do this as part of their sales strategy and much more aggressively than what they did with the previous generation. So if you are looking for that more lower price, bare bones Tacoma, sure, they exist. But my own guess would be that there's little incentives for dealers to order them over the more specced out ones. At the end of the day, I know that not only with me sharing my own experience and thoughts and opinions, and ultimately my numbers, no matter what they were, there's probably going to be a lot of opinion and perhaps a lot of debate as well. With a truck that's been the mid-size segment king for so many years, especially with the generation turnover that brought a lot of changes, a lot of chatter is to be expected. And I welcome all of that here on my video too, which is partially why I decided to make this video and share all this information with you guys. But I'm just going to say that in my opinion, I truly believe that the 2024 Tacoma represents significant evolution from the last generation, but that does come at an increased price. Again, we can spend all day talking about the differences between both, but with this new truck, you're going to get a better driving experience. There's a lot more low-end torque. It feels more pleasurable to drive. You're also going to get modern safety features, also better gas mileage, although I will say, I really wish that they didn't decrease the size of the gas tank, because I still do not like that I have to take frequent trips to the gas station. The whole point of better gas mileage is so I don't have to do that. Also, why does the next gen 4Runner get memory seats, but this truck doesn't come with that option?
By the way, it doesn't make sense.
You know, time will tell if this vehicle will live up to Toyota's reputation of building rock solid vehicles, because it's been like only a year since these trucks have been out, probably less. But for now, I am personally thrilled with my purchase and I cannot wait to start building it up. I do hope that my transparency and sharing how much I paid does provide some sort of value to you guys. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay tuned for the next video, and if you want to follow me more in real time, you can check out my Instagram. It is @ChloeKuoTaco. Thanks, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.